Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to go through the route and strategy that I took to complete the Shattered Veil Easter egg quest as a solo player in Black Ops 6 Zombies. This run had me completing all of the steps and unlocking the final boss fight by round 20, and then after that I just kind of spent a few additional rounds killing zombies to get powered up and whatnot. So I'll go through everything from start to finish, and hopefully this will help you complete it as well. Alright, so first off, just quickly going through my loadout and the equipment that I used to get through this. Starting with the weapon, I used the Kilo 141 primarily just because I wanted to get it leveled up. It's a new weapon for this season, but it worked out really well. So taking a look at my loadout, I'll just show you all of the attachments that I had here. With the extended mag 2, once you get that pack-a-punch, that gives you a 200 round mag, which is pretty nice, but you can see the attachments that I use there, which seem to work out pretty well. And then Ether Shroud is going to be really important. That's actually required as one of the steps there that you need to do. And then I use a decoy grenade for one of the steps, and then Semtex, any sort of explosive, we'll get to it, but you need explosives for some of these steps too, so I just start with a Semtex. And then moving over to my augments, I'll run through all of these really quick as well too, if you're curious what I had equipped. A couple callouts for all this stuff. One being that double tap has been added to this season, so if you can add that to your research and get some of those augments upgraded, that'll help. I had double standard, which increases or doubles the damage of non-critical shots, as well as double time, which increases the fire rate bonus, and I think that worked out really well with the Kilo that I had equipped. And then for the rest of these, I'll just kind of scroll through them real quick if you want to pause the video, but just to see what I had equipped for all of these. Alright, and then moving to ammo mods, so Brain Rot is going to be required for one of the steps. The augments aren't super important, but that's what I had equipped there. And then after that, I switch over to Deadwire because one of the new enemies is weak to that element, so I switched to Deadwire, and those are the augments I had equipped for that. And then finally, as mentioned, Ether Shroud is required for one of the steps, so that is my field upgrade. And you can see the augments I have for that. Call out there is that having extra charge kind of helps because you get 2 charges on that rather than 1. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, now getting into the actual run. So the way this quest works, it's essentially broken out into 3 main objectives that you need to complete, and each one of those objectives has 3 main tasks or parts of it. So first thing that you need to do is you need to get the Ray Gun Mark II, and then this gun can be upgraded into 3 different versions, and each version is required for one of the objectives. So kind of the steps is once you have the gun, upgrade it to a specific version. You can then use that version to unlock one of the 3 paintings that are found throughout the level, and then each one of the paintings has a relic task associated with it, and those relics are required to power up the artifact. So once you get all 3 relics, you use those to power up the artifact, and then you can give the artifact to Sam to begin the final boss fight. So with that context, now back to the beginning, and I'll start walking through how I got all of this done. You can multitask quite a bit working on all 3 of the relic objectives at the same time. So I'll basically just organize this from start to finish and explain what I'm working on each round. So right off the bat, you can already start working on the Mark II-R weapon upgrade, potentially. So that requires 4 plant seeds that you'll need to collect, and those plants spawn randomly around the map. So you can use an explosive or a Molotov on them, and as you see, a plant seed will pop out, and you can collect that.
Mom always said I'd make a damn good farmer.
Another thing to keep an eye out for are these white boxes. So these will be found all throughout the map as well, and they'll either randomly drop salvage or a vermin will spawn. So it's kind of worth it just for that to farm salvage. However, one of them is also going to randomly drop a quest item, which is the Essence Bomb. So make sure you don't miss those. And then as I continue to just kind of run around this first room still, I do spot another plant, fortunately. However, I don't have a explosive to use. So just kind of make a note of that, where that's located. And then also make sure you're keeping an eye out for explosive item drops from zombies as well. So you can use those as opposed to needing to buy them to use on the plants. And then finally, just kind of wrapping things up here, if you are wondering how I got so much money this quickly in round 3, I just kind of luckily got a double points and a bonus point spawn as I was cleaning up the zombies of this round. Now moving on to our first room, which is going to be the conservatory. So this is where the quick revive is located, as well as another quest item, which is one of 2 reflectors that you need to collect. So this is required to upgrade to the Mark II-P version of the weapon, so we can grab that. And then we'll purchase our second door, which is the upper terrace. This is going to lead into the front entrance area of the mansion. And then also just kind of scanning this perimeter, as there are some plant spawn potentially, as well as some box spawn. So I'm just kind of looking for those. Now heading inside, this is the grand foyer area where we can find the Juggernog machine as well as a pretty awesome T-Rex. And then also there's going to be some more box spawn spots up on the top floor, so I just kind of do a loop around that and grab those. And then we'll head into the east foyer area, which is on the right side of the mansion. This is where you can find the stamina up machine as well as leading into our next quest item that we can find, which is the fuse. And that is going to be one of 2 parts that are required to fix the elevator.
I didn't like how it was looking at me. I think I'm onto something here.
The next door will lead into the study where there is another quest item that we can pick up, which is the bell. This is going to be needed later to get the metal hip flask, which is one of the 3 main relics that we need to collect. So the bell can be found randomly in I think one of 3 spots. It's going to be sitting on a doily in one of these cabinets. And you may need to break the glass and it can be a bit hard to see, but check these spots and you should find the bell in one of them. And then heading outside from here is where we can find the elemental pop machine, as well as the next door, which leads to the rear patio, as well as the new double tap machine. And then down at the bottom patio, if you check this back corner here, sometimes a plant spawns, so check that. And then back up the stairs, we can pick up the sconce quest item, which we'll use in a bit to open up a secret room back in the grand foyer with the T-Rex. This is the room with the elevator that will take you down to Sam. However, we still need one more part to fix it. We got the fuse earlier and we also need the circuit board. That can be found through the west balcony door back by the patio. And this is where I find the 3rd plant location as well as the essence bomb, which I talked about earlier. So I grabbed that. And then for the plant, I don't have an explosive. However, you can get a free Molotov cocktail back in the kitchen by the elevator. So I go get that real quick and then use it on the plant to get my 2nd seed.
Molotov lit.
Head up these stairs and you'll see the bedroom where a mainframe is located that you can melee to get the circuit board. This is also where the depth perception machine is nearby in the next room over. So once you've got the circuit board, you can head back to the elevator, and along with the fuse, you can finally repair it. Once that's done, you can then call the elevator, but be prepared for a bunch of zombies to pop out. So deal with that, and then you can take the elevator or the zip line down to the bottom and meet Sam.
I don't want to think she is keeping something from us.
Bet those freaks can't do this.
Ah, there you are. It is so nice to meet you face to face, Kate.
This is where you'll finally come across the Pack-a-Punch machine, and once you reach this room, this is kind of the last guided waypoint that you'll see throughout the quest. So at this point, we're still in round 4 though, and one of the next kind of big tasks that we need to complete can't be done until round 10, so we've got a little bit of time to kill. That being said though, we can make use of that time as there are quite a few things that we can do to progress some of the objectives. So first off, we can head down and go through this door, which leads into the service tunnel. And from there, if you head over to the spot with the 3-plate vest wall by, you'll also see this pile of rubble where you can place that essence bomb. So that's going to blow up and then reveal a tunnel, which we'll come back to later. However, behind that as well, there's also this dead guy with an LT-53 Kazimir in his hand. So we're going to grab that, as that is used to get one of the 3 empty canisters that we need. The way this works essentially for the weapon upgrades is that you need to get empty canisters, and then we'll fill those up with like an essence and then use that to upgrade. So this first canister we can get using that. So I'm going to grab that and temporarily replace my decoy tactical slot for it and head back upstairs, because over by the double tap machine, there's the zombie spawn window. If you look in there, you can see that canister sitting in there. So if you use that on the ground, just throw it on the ground right next to it, it'll suck it up. And you can grab that first empty canister, and then I'm going to head back downstairs and get my decoy back, because I want to use that in a little bit for another task that we need to do. At this point, it was time to spend a little bit of money, so I went and got my weapon upgraded to uncommon, and then also bought the double tap Perca-Cola just to get a little extra firepower. And then from here, we can actually get the second canister right now too. So this one is located in the same room with Sam. So if you go down the elevator and on the left side of that room, you'll notice this kind of utility box thing with either the letter A or B above it. And then to the right of that, you'll see that cryo tube. And if you look inside, you can see a canister sitting inside. So the way this works, to get this one, you're going to need 2 combat axes. You can either buy them at a workbench, or you can actually get 2 of them for free. One is located right back at the very start of the level, and then you can also find one on a table to the right of the Pack-a-Punch machine. Once you have those, head back through the service tunnel, and on the left side, you'll see these pipes and valves with the letters A and B on the wall. So use your first axe to hit the valve in the middle that's not steaming, and then use your second axe to hit the valve that's corresponding to whatever letter that you got. Once you do that, if you head back to the tube, you'll notice it's now filled with smoke. And at this point, you need to blow it up with some sort of explosive again. So we got to find another explosive type device. You can either, like me, I just kind of waited and I got fortunate enough to get an impact grenade pretty shortly after that and use that. Otherwise, you can buy something at the workbench. Either way, once you have an explosive, blow up the glass, the canister will pop out, and you can grab that for your second one. Now in round 6, we still got some time to kill until round 10, where we finally can get that item that lets us get the Ray Gun Mark II weapon. So here, while fighting the toxic zombie round, I get another lucky impact grenade, and I remembered that that third plant was located back at the beginning spawn, so ran back there real quick just to kind of take care of that and get that third seed. And then going into round 7, did a SAM trial, didn't really get anything good though, and then headed over and got my Juggernog. And then while we're here, this is also where the puzzle for the sconce is located, and we picked that up earlier by the elevator. So place that on the wall, and really it's just kind of a quick puzzle where you just need to replicate the pattern, and it's 3 rounds. So first round is just a 1-part pattern, second round's a 2-part pattern, third round's a 3-part pattern. So basically just watch the lights glow and then just replicate the order that they glow and interact with the lights to then open up the secret room where the first painting challenge is going to be located. So we'll come back to that in a bit. Round 8, we can take care of a few more things. First, we haven't gone into the west door through the grand foyer yet, so we can head in there. Over here, you can find the PhD flopper as well as the second reflector item on the opposite side of that wall. So we're kind of done with those for now. We'll be using those a little bit later down in that tunnel that we blew up with the essence bomb. But we got that taken care of. And then I head into this door where I find the 4th and final plant. However, I don't have an explosive right now, so just kind of remember that spot for later. Going into round 9, I did another SAM trial. Again, nothing too great on the reward there, but that also then put me into round 10, so we can finally do this next step, which is down in the room with Sam. So I'm going to head down that way. However, on the way, also get my weapon upgraded to rare tier, as well as also get Pack-a-Punch level 1 done as well. So from here, once you hit round 10, a special zombie is going to start spawning in the room with Sam in it with the title of Lab Technician. So hang out here and keep an eye out for him. He's basically just a regular zombie, but once you kill him, he's going to drop this floppy disk item. So pick that up, and then we're going to use that upstairs in the east foyer area. However, I decided to just go ahead and buy a Semtech so I could take care of that 4th plant real quick. So on my way there, I go ahead and grab that 4th seed. So I've got that all taken care of. But anyways, making your way to the east foyer, look for the room with the large staircase in it. And in the corner of that room, you're going to find a computer. You can interact with that to use the floppy disk. And then that will slowly print out a message. You're also going to get like some vermin and things to spawn in. So just kind of run around, wait for the message to print out. After that, you can read it, and within that, it's going to be a random 4-letter word that you'll get. In this particular run, I got moth, but there's also like crab and worm and some other ones. So get your word, and then with that information, we're gonna take that to the room with the PhD flopper, and you'll see a chalkboard with a bunch of letters on it. The way this works, and you can pause your game while you do this, so you don't have to worry about zombies while you're trying to figure this out, but you'll notice all the letters are jumbled up into groups. So basically what we're doing is trying to find out a 4-digit numeric code that corresponds to our word. So basically take each letter of your word, find it on the board. In my case, it was moth. So the number is going to be the number of letters in that group. So it's random every time, but in this particular run, moth, the code is going to be 1888 because M is a single letter by itself. That's 1. And then OTH are all in that group in the upper left corner with 8 letters in it. So again, it's going to be random, but for example, if you had crab, you can see the C would be a 4 because there's 4 letters in that word. So anyways, go through that process, get your 4-digit code, and that's going to be used back down in the service tunnel near where Sam is. And there you'll find a keypad, which is holding in a special Doppleghast as well as a few toxic zombies. So input that code, that'll open up, he'll come charging out. Take care of him, and once you do that, he'll drop a severed arm that you can pick up. Once you've got that, head deeper into the service tunnel where you'll find the last door that opens up into the supply depot room. And this is where the armory is located. So you can go in there, place the hand of that severed arm on the scanner. That'll open up this glass, and you can now get the Ray Gun Mark II.
just won the lead-slinging lottery.
The weapon you now hold was recovered from the Dark Ether. Reflector dispatched a team to research its origins. They never returned.
So now with the Mark II, we can get the third and final empty canister, which is going to be found in one of 4 random spots inside these blue glassy rock things. So you can shoot them with the weapon and that'll shatter them, dropping the canister or some random items. So the first one is right next door of the armory in the service tunnel up on the ceiling. There's also another one out on the balcony by the PhD flopper. That's where I ended up finding mine. There's also one in that same room where you use the floppy disk on the computer to get the message. And then finally, the last one can be found back near the beginning in the conservatory area. With all 3 empty canisters now taken care of, we can start filling them up to upgrade the Ray Gun Mark II for each of the 3 relic challenges. So starting with the Mark II W upgrade, that's going to be located back kind of near the starting area next to the Speed Cola machine. There you'll find this other machine where you can place one of the empty canisters, and that's going to kick off an event down these stairs where an abomination is going to spawn in. So for this one, it's a bit tedious, but there's going to be these 3 small rocks that you need to get him to hit with his lightning attack. So once he does that, the rock will start glowing blue. And then the next stage of that is you need to get him to charge at the rock using his like bull rush attack that he does. So when that happens, once the rock is done, you'll know because it's floating in the sky and you need to do that for all 3. So basically just kind of run around this little small arena, staying near the rocks to get that done. Once that is done, that'll end this portion of the event, and then a portal is going to open in the middle, and vermin are going to start spawning in. You'll see a meter on the left side of your screen, so basically just defend the area until the meter fills up, and then that will charge up the canister. You can go run upstairs, and you'll collect what is now the explosive canister.
Have canister, we'll travel.
Now head back down to the room with the armory, and on the left side there's going to be a workbench where you can place the canister as well as the Mark II to craft the Mark II W. Once you have that, that's going to allow you to complete the first painting, which is going to be located back in the grand foyer in that secret room that we opened up with the sconce item. So head down there, you'll find a computer that you can interact with next to the painting, and that's going to kick off an event where basically you just have to kill some zombies using the Mark II W to charge up the meter, and then that's going to open up a luminal portal that you can then go through into the room on the other side.
Let's hope we can find our way back.
Once you do this, this will now unlock the ability to get the metal hip flask item. This is one of the 3 relics that I mentioned earlier and requires the bell that we got in the study. So head back into the grand foyer, and there is a bar on the 2nd floor back in the corner. So we're going to head up there, but first you also need the brain rot ammo mod. So stop and get that equipped on your weapon before you try this. And this is where that decoy grenade comes into play. So basically what we need to do is head up to the bar. You're going to place the bell on the counter. And we need to get a brain rot zombie near the bar and then ring the bell. He'll jump over the bar and get the hip flask item for you, essentially. So basically what I do is just throw a decoy grenade next to the bar, shoot the zombies. It's a bit random, but then just kind of hope that you get one to turn. Once you see that, ring the bell. And then also I have Ether Shroud as sort of a safety, as it can get a little bit crowded. So I pop that in case, I get stuck in the corner or anything.
Vest Malloy, a former owner of this mansion, loved that flag. Prohibition made him rich, but this house unmade him.
Now we need to use the relic to power up the artifact, which is done back in the blue portal painting room. However, to do that, you also have to go through this special mangler fight. So before that, I want to make sure I have the 3-plate armor vest first, just kind of for safety. And I'm a bit impatient here. It's probably better to save this for later, but I use the double points Easter egg that you can find in the back of the mansion. You can find it by looking out here. You can barely see it on this log. And I shoot that just to get some extra money and clean up all but one zombie in round 13, which is just enough for the 3-plate vest. So I grab that first and then head down to get this done. So as you saw, you can place the artifact down on that pedestal once you have that flask, and then that will kick off this event where this mangler is going to spawn in, as well as some minions as well that you'll have to deal with. He's got this blue shield that you'll need to destroy by shooting it with the Mark W first, and then try and focus on his head once he's vulnerable to break off that helmet, and that will open up a weak point for critical hits. I was kind of switching to my Kilo after breaking his shield just because I was worried about running out of ammo with the Mark W, but I honestly think you could probably just use that through the entire fight. But you'll kind of go through a couple cycles of this where his shield will regenerate, you'll have to break it again, etc. But once you defeat him, that will be the first relic complete, and then we've got 2 more to go.
Back to the sticks for you. Why the fuck do you guys speak a Russian accent? Not cool.
Hello. Not sure if you can hear me, but I know Sam can't listen in. You don't trust me, fine. But you cannot trust her. Repeat, do not believe a word she says.
I knew it. He's alive.
So moving on to the second relic, we now need to switch out our Mark II W to the Mark II P, and that is going to be done with another canister. And we can do that back in that tunnel that we blew up earlier with the essence bomb down in the service tunnel where Sam is kind of. So head down there. You'll find a room where we can use those 2 reflectors that we also collected earlier. There's going to be some pedestals where you can place those. And then you'll also find another machine where you can place one of those empty canisters. So place down the reflectors, place the canister in the machine. That's going to turn on this laser beam that comes out of this crystal. You can see it sort of bouncing all over. And basically what we need to do is use those reflectors to bounce the laser beam onto 3 Doppleghast statues. So you can melee the mirrors or the reflectors once they're on the pedestals, and that'll change the direction. Once you get a laser beam onto a Doppleghast, you can then melee the crystal. That will then shoot a beam through the laser that will then hit the statue, and then a Doppleghast is going to emerge, and then you need to kill the Doppleghast once that happens.
Still too dumb to live.
Once you get those 2 done, head over to the pedestal and remove the reflector near the canister machine, and then head over to the pedestal near the entrance and hit that reflector so it now bounces the laser upstairs. You can then head over there, head upstairs, and there's another pedestal where you can place that second reflector and then adjust that so it then bounces the laser to the 3rd Doppleghast. So this is going to be a special Doppleghast, so he's a little bit harder, but once you kill him, that will complete this event. It'll charge up the canister to the light canister, and then you can use that to create the Mark II P, which can be done at the workbench back upstairs in the mansion in that bedroom where you initially got the circuit board to repair the elevator. At this point, you could start working on the second relic now that you have the Mark II P to do that. However, instead, I like to just get that 3rd final canister done now, just so those are all taken care of. Also, this last one is a little bit messy, so try to get that done in a lower round if possible. Before that, though, pretty soon we're going to start running into Elder Disciples, and those guys are weak to lightning. So I'm going to go switch out my ammo mod from Brain Rot to Deadwire to take advantage of that. But after that, head over to the conservatory where you'll find another machine where you can place that 3rd empty canister in. And that is going to kick off the event to charge that into the toxic canister. And we're going to be using those 4 plant seeds finally to get that done. So there you can see I place a seed in this grow box incubator thing after putting the canister in the machine. So there's going to be 4 of these found throughout the conservatory, 1 for each of the seeds that you need to grow. And they take about 45 seconds to complete, and you need to defend it while that's happening. And they're pretty fragile too, so they can only take a couple hits, it seems like, before you'll fail and you'll have to redo it. But as you're doing this, there's going to be additional purple-eyed zombies that spawn in, so you have to fight those in addition to the regular round zombies. So I kind of like to do or start this in between rounds if you can. So kind of start it at the end of one round going into a new round. That'll kind of help thin the herd a little bit as you kind of get a nice little buffer while the zombies from the regular round are like spawning in. So kind of do your best. It's a little. This one's a little bit stressful, but if you have things like Ether Shroud or like decoy grenades, those will help out as well. But you basically just have to plant yourself in front of this thing and fight off zombies for about 45 seconds until each one of these grow.
We can extract you now. I checked the road to Schrawgs and Sconce myself. wake up in the morning. Activating decoy.
All right, so got that done after burning through about 4 rounds, as well as some decoy grenades and whatnot. But now we can go collect the toxic canister, and we've got all that done. So we just basically have the 2 remaining relic challenges to do. So this next one is going to be located down in the room with the elevator. You can see the painting there, and just like the other one, there's a computer next to it. So interact with that, it'll kick off a similar event. However, this time we're using the Mark II-P weapon to kill zombies, and that will charge up this portal that will lead into another room that we can go into. And this one is going to have a red bottle on the table that we need to grab.
This is one of those don't drink the punch moments.
That bottle is going to be used to fill up 3 glasses that you can find throughout the map, and each one of those is going to spawn in an Elder Disciple. So this is where that dead wire ammo mod can come in handy, as that's what they're weak to. So you'll need to kill each one. So you've got this one in the wine area just next door. Next, there's one located back in the Great Foyer main entrance area on the 2nd floor. And then finally, you've got one more that's back in the starting area underneath the bridge. Once that's complete, head back to the room with the elevator, and there's going to be 3 numbers displayed on the walls, and this is going to be the combination to a safe that you have to open. So in my case, the combination was 32, 17, 12, starting from left, middle, then right. So that safe is going to be found back up in the room with the death perception machine. There you can input the code, open up the safe, and there you will find the 2nd relic. I personally had trouble picking up this item for some reason, so if nothing's happening, just try it from different angles.
This looks fucking old.
You can now take the artifact and place it on the pedestal within that portal room, just like you did with the first one. However, this time an Elder Disciple boss is going to spawn. The fight setup is basically the exact same though. He'll have a shield that you can destroy, this time with the Mark II-P, then do damage, do a couple cycles of that, and then eventually you'll complete this 2nd relic.
Hear your servant!
You didn't tell Sam I contacted you. That was wise. Wiser still if you stop doing her monkey work. You don't understand what she's really up.
You're not the boss of me. That ship sank years ago.
Okay, so last relic. First, just calling this out real quick. As I've kind of been going on, I didn't show this or anything, but I've been getting some upgrades. So you notice I've got some more Perca-Colas. I've got my weapon upgraded to Epic Tier with Pack-a-Punch level 2. So partake in those activities at your discretion, but just make sure that you're getting upgrades and whatnot. But now moving on to the 3rd relic. So the first thing we need to do is change our weapon, our ray gun, to the Mark II-R. And since we've already gotten the toxic canister, we can just go ahead and do that right away. And that is located at the workbench back at the beginning of the map, right where we first spawned in.
Gross factor's about to go up to 11.
With that, you can head to the last painting, which is through the East Foyer. Same story here. There's a painting and a computer next to it that you can activate. Kill all of the zombies with the Mark II-R to charge up the portal. That'll open up into another room. Then after that, getting the Relic for this one can be a little bit annoying depending on what the status is of your field upgrade, as this one does require that you activate Ether Shroud in order to be able to pick up the necessary quest items. And there's 3 of them, and they can randomly spawn across 6 different spots. That being said, though, I think I have a pretty good setup that should hopefully make this as painless as possible. Starting off, going through all of the potential locations, you've got this fireplace next to the elevator. And then back in this room, you've got 2 potential spots, one on the desk and then also the fireplace here as well to the left of it. And then back in the portal room, you've got this couch where an item might spawn. And then through this room, you've got the stamina machine. And then in this back room, you've got another fireplace with a potential spot. And then finally, up these stairs, there is a desk here. And then through into the grand foyer to the left, there is another desk by the bar. So if you already have some charges saved up, and this is where that extra charge augment comes in handy, you may be able to get through this pretty quick depending on how lucky you are with the item placements. However, there is also this full power-up Easter egg that you can get back in the room with the bell. So if you go prone here and look through this little window, you'll see that you can shoot, and that's going to give you another free extra charge to do another attempt. So once you're ready to go, I'd recommend starting with the room next to the elemental pop machine, and you should be able to check 4 of these locations in one attempt. However, you might need the speed boost of the stamina up machine, I'm not sure. But starting off, you can see I get 1 item on the desk, verify there's nothing in the fireplace, then move into the portal room, check the couch, nothing there. And then finally, you do get about 5 seconds after Ether Shroud quits to pick up an item, and that was just enough time for me to get that last item in the fireplace. So I've got 2 out of the 3. And I'm not 100% sure, but I believe only one of the fireplaces will have an item, so then I assume it's not going to be back by the elevator. So then I use that second charge to go check the last 2 spots and find the last item up on the desk by the bar.
Hey, this is Sam Colton. So didn't I tell you to settle with the plaintiffs? Oh, well, I just got served with a class action lawsuit.
So with that all done, that's going to make 3 books glow white on the bookshelf opposite the portal. They each have a symbol on them, and you need to interact with all 3 in the correct sequence. I'm honestly not sure if there's some clue out there to figuring out what the correct order is, but you don't really need it, as you can just kind of try over and over. So once you figure out what the first book is, and if the second book that you try fails, and you know it's the other one. So you can just kind of brute force it real quick, and that will open up a secret room where you can find the 3rd and final relic.
Cost cutting, shitty maintenance. No way to.
And then for one final time, head into the portal room and place down the artifact. This time it's going to spawn in an amalgam boss. So kind of, again, same story. He'll have a shield, shoot the shield, this time with the Mark II-R, and repeat until dead.
Right in the brain. I break every one of your fingers. I got a schedule.
Despite my warnings, you have empowered the artifact. Now, you are all in grave danger.
All right, so that is the final step of the Easter egg complete, and at this point you can go and take on the boss fight at any time that you want. Just head down to Sam, and there will be a prompt at this panel in front of her that will activate the fight, and you'll go into a cutscene to begin that. However, I would highly recommend that you stick around for a little bit and get fully geared up. So I personally went all the way to round 29 after this, just to kind of get everything I needed. So I got my weapon to legendary tier, Pack-a-Punch level 3. As you can see, I got all of the Perca-Colas pretty much, and the Wonder Fizz machine will show up at round 25, so you can get the additional perks that aren't found on the map, like Deadshot Daiquiri. I've got 2 decoy grenades, and I also got a chopper gunner, which I would highly recommend to use for the final phase of the boss fight. And then, let's see, finally, self-revive, full ammo, full armor plates, and then also the ray gun Mark II. You can go back and swap that out to any of the 3 types by going back to the workbench, and it doesn't cost anything or anything like that. You can also pack-a-punch it, so I pack-a-punched it as well. I'd recommend you do that. I changed it for this fight. I changed it to the Mark II W. However, in another attempt, I also tried using the Mark II P. And I think I maybe liked that version a little bit better. I used it primarily to deal with all of the minions throughout the boss fight. So either way, I'd recommend that as kind of your secondary and getting that Pack-a-Punched as well.
Therefore, it is awkward that you will not see the conclusion of my mission.
Can be a part of your plan! Residual temporal energy! It's a real bitch!
Okay, so as you can see, the T-Rex ends up being the final boss of all of this, and it can be a pretty challenging fight, which is why it's a really good idea just to get geared up with pretty much everything you can, particularly because he does have a few attacks throughout this that can pretty much one-shot you, so you need to be careful for that as well. But starting off, he does have a few weak points that you need to focus on, one being the eyes, and then occasionally he will get some glowing spots on his ribs or sides that you can shoot, so make sure that you focus on that when that happens, as you can put out a lot of damage by focusing on that. He'll also spew out these toxic areas throughout the map too. They do damage you, however, the more impactful thing I think is that it slows you down and you can't sprint or slide through them, so try and avoid those at all costs, as mobility does become really important in the later phases. And speaking of that, this is broken out into 4 phases, which is about 25% health for each phase. The first 2 shouldn't be too hard to get through. Just kind of continue to run through the map, avoid those toxic areas, shoot zombies, and focus on, again, his eyes and his ribs. Once that's done, once a phase is done, he'll jump up into the top of the cliff, and then you'll have to go through a phase where you have to fight through waves of zombies, and that is a good opportunity to run around and pick up some ammo drops as well as armor drops as well. Phase 2 will be pretty similar, however, things might get a little bit more aggressive. As you see, he does one of his jump attacks there. This is where things like PhD Slider really come in handy to increase mobility and keep your distance from him. So try and stay as far away from him as you can throughout the fight, and utilize the rocks as much as possible too to sort of corner around them and break up any direct lines he has to you. Also, make use of your equipment. If you notice, I just threw a decoy grenade there. I just felt a little bit uncomfortable and helped me thin out the numbers a little bit. I would recommend, if you can, utilize decoy grenades through phase 1 and 2 if you need them, and try as hard as you can to save that Ether Shroud use for phases 3 and 4. So here is phase 2 complete, as he again jumps back to the top of the cliff. Similar thing here. Try and recoup as much as you can as you fight off waves of zombies, looking for ammo. I stopped by and just bought some more, and then I just kind of run around hunting for more armor plates. Phase 3 is where things can really start to get serious, and if you're not careful, you'll just suddenly be dead from one of his attacks, as he can pretty much just one-shot you, as I mentioned. So again, just try and really keep as much distance from him as you can, sprinting and sliding around the map and using those rocks to sort of corner around the arena. Hopefully, you got a chopper gunner. You have that in your back pocket, but really try and save that for the last phase. And then also, if you have decoy grenades, you could use that as sort of a panic button, or you do have your Ether Shroud, hopefully, too. So kind of default to those if you can. But really, again, just try and constantly be aware of where he is and trying to keep as much distance from you as you can while you put out damage, again, with his eyes and his ribs. Also, fortunately, I didn't have to use my self-revive in this attempt, but you also have that. And here's an example from another attempt that I did where I did go down. And as you can see, especially if you have the augment that increases the time in last stand, you can just kind of stay there and use your Mark II to put out damage. So you can kind of utilize that to get in some additional free damage as you're essentially invulnerable. So hold off on the revive for as long as you can to utilize that. Back to the original fight. So this is where I start getting a little nervous and panicky. So this is where I use my first Ether Shroud as I got hit from the back and I didn't really know what was going on. So use that, and that allowed me just to kind of recuperate and get to safety. However, right after that, I again just completely panicked and basically just slammed my hand down on the keyboard to use my second Ether Shroud and opened up my map and God knows what else. But fortunately, I did get that Ether Shroud off, and that was enough to take me into the final phase of the fight. So now I'm just basically waiting for him to come back down, and once I see him on the ground, that's when I pop my chopper gunner. This was actually the first time I had used the chopper gunner in this fight, and I honestly thought it was going to be enough to get through the entire phase. And it ended up doing quite a bit of damage, but it didn't deplete his health fully. Had I known that, I probably would have waited a little bit longer to pop that chopper gunner. But anyways, I get through that, and at that point, I just try my best to survive and whittle down the rest of his health with my weapons. And you want to do that as quickly as possible in this phase, as you'll notice that there are some additional enemies that start joining the party, including things like parasites and even Doppleghast. So there you have it. That is the Shattered Veil Easter egg quest complete as a solo player in Black Ops 6 Zombies. If you're using this as a guide, hopefully this video helps you out and gets you through it. And with that, I'll just kind of leave you with the end cutscene if you want to watch that. And then similar to the other ones, there's an option to continue playing. So you can just like pick up with your next round and you'll get a whole bunch of power-ups and whatnot. So again, I'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you, Major. Fuck you. Fair enough. We're not friends. We never will be. But we are running out of time. The ether reactors at Janus Towers must be close to melting down by now. Worse, I know what Sam really intends to do with the Sentinel artifact.
She said she wants to bring back Maxis.
No. Sam wants to be Maxis. To reconstitute and inhabit her body. She would have full control of the Dark Ether. Godlike power. She can still be stopped, but our window isn't long. So what's it going to be?
I trusted you once, and look where that got me.
I don't trust you at all. You're a machine. Wearing Maxis' face. I'd die before I let that happen.
Okay. You got a plan?